Boom, and we're live. Might as well just go all the way in. Feel like a dog. I guess I really am a dog. What's that? So we're in the middle of a project right now. We're actually more towards the end of it, not the middle. We're getting ready to spray the final part of this project. We've been at this house for the past 8 days straight. I think we did like 600 linear feet of crown here, a big 6 5/16 crown. But we just trimmed out this arch the other day. We used flex molding, and it's a rubber molding that looks like wood when you paint it, but it's just rubber resins. And I also used a method called kerfing. It's where you kerf a board on the back side of it and it's able to bend. So anyways, we're kind of in the middle of that project, getting more towards the end, and I'm getting ready to spray. And I get a lot of questions about the masking process that we do. So I'm gonna go ahead and just talk briefly about that, and we'll go inside and show you why you should never underestimate overspray. So before I show you that arch, I'll show you this crown that we've been doing all this week. And it came out really nice. We're real happy with it, as are they. But this plastic right here, this is the entrance. But coming through here, you can see there's a lot of plastic. Here's the arch that we trimmed out. I'm just getting ready to prime this now. But I'm gonna talk to you guys and just kind of give you my theories on masking and overspray, and how I've learned a lot of this stuff the hard way. This is the stuff we get. It's 0.31 mil, and this is painter's plastic, 12 foot by 400. We also use the 9 foot sometimes, but it's just plastic, comes out, you spread it out, it comes out to 12 foot wide, and there's 400 feet of it in here. But the whole purpose of this is not durability, it's just to protect. So we're not looking for a real thick plastic. So number one, we use a lot of this plastic. Number two, we use a lot of this pre-taped plastic. You'll see this Scotch blue pre-taped plastic. That helps us get the edges. So we can get the edges, then we just tape this bigger stuff to it, so we don't have to hold this big plastic right up against the edge. So we got the blue plastic tape, the 0.31 mil large tape that we use for everything. And then we'll just talk about from the ground or from the floor up. So what we have here is just builder's paper. You can get this anywhere. This is just to protect for overspray and just little drops or spits from the gun. We kind of put like a foundation of where we think we're gonna be working. So we got like 2 rolls here, and we got 4 rolls going back that way. Then from there, we basically build a booth, and we tape plastic all around that paper. Then we go to the ceiling. So we got that 12 foot stuff in here because we want to make sure we go all the way from floor to ceiling. Since I'm gonna be spraying upwards like this, I'm gonna be spraying directly at the ceiling. So we went ahead and put plastic on the ceiling as well. And that's just, and if you look at this stuff, it's not like it's real pretty or anything. It's not like we're trying to make this look really good. We're just trying to format it in a way that it protects everything. We're not trying, it's all gonna get ripped out. So that pretty much covers, I believe, the main part of the environment, I guess. The spraying will get on everything that's in here. So if I leave that paintbrush right there, when I come back after I spray it, there's gonna be a really clean outline of a paintbrush when I pick this up. And there'll be overspray all out here, and this will be perfect how it was in here. So if you have any tools in the environment, they're gonna get overspray. All of your clothes, all of your hair, all of your face, in your eyes. You definitely don't want it in your eyes. People have said the full face respirator is overkill, but how can you be overkill on protecting your freaking face? Look at all that junk on here. This would have been all over my face. Everything here would have been all over me. And there's stuff on this suit that you can't see, obviously, because it's white, that would have been all over me. Because this is probably one of the most asked questions I get, is how, like, why do we set it up this big? Why do we go overkill on this? Why do you have a full face respirator? You can get away with just a regular respirator, but this is just my personal preference. So what I do is I'll get suited up. This one protects my shoes as well. So I'm not really too concerned about my shoes, but again, I don't want to have these shoes looking like just garbage, and then let's say I go, which actually is going to happen. After we leave this job, we're going about 4 houses down to measure another house. I don't want to walk in there with just looking like garbage. So that's one thing I think about. So then it's the mask and then the head. So right now, I feel completely fine to just work. I don't have to think about anything. I can do my thing. I don't have to worry about what's getting on me, what's getting on the furniture. Are the walls protected? Am I going to spray the ceiling? I can focus on what really matters. So I think you get the point. It's pretty a thorough setup to do all this stuff, and don't underestimate it. Now let's go and switch to the GoPro. I'll spray all this stuff, and then we can kind of look at the floor and see what overspray there's going to be. It gets everywhere. I think that's the main purpose of this discussion. Don't trust it. So we got our first coat on the casing side of it. I'm going to get up inside the arch. There's no way I would do what I just did without a full face. Absolutely no way. You would see me looking up with shellac-based primer falling into my eyes. And I need to get that middle section, so we'll just come in from the side, and then that looks pretty good. Just like that. We're putting a very light coat on this the first time around. The same thing. Ooh, bad clog. Look at this. See that? I should really strain this stuff again. I just finished spraying the second coat on this arch, and I still got that PPG speed height in here. And it did pretty well. I had no complaints on it. I'm not a fan of semi-gloss. That's kind of my only thing. But it is what it is on that. I gotta clean the sprayer out. But I just wanted to show you just the environment once it's done. I mean, you can see right here, this area is kind of where I was testing out the fan of the sprayer. And again, I've done this method a lot. Never had anything transfer through this builder paper and get on the floor. Now, one thing that I have had happen is when I do an unclog, so when I'm spraying this gun and I get a clog and then I shoot that unclog, which is just a stream like this, I've had I've done that to the wall and had it puncture through the plastic, and I had to touch up that after. So now what I do with my unclogs is just on the paper. They're not going to puncture through the paper from this far, but I got too close and then it just shot through. So that's one thing. But if you look at this, now keep in mind, we vacuumed this area before we started spraying. But I want you to, I'm not going to do this too much because I don't want to kick dust on this surface. But there is dust right there. And it's not sawdust. What it is it's bin primer and some of this PPG speed hide. It's became dust as it basically, I'm spraying this stuff in the air, and as it's falling, especially the bin primer, it cures so quickly that as it's falling, it's just turning into dust as it's falling, and then it's becoming dust on the floor. That primer is so quick drying that it's just amazing. If you've never used it, especially if you've never sprayed it, you'll be surprised how quickly you can, it's dry to the touch. It's not completely cured, but it's dry to the touch. So all that dust is not sawdust or sanding dust, it's overspray dust. One thing, this box right here of plastic has been here the whole time. And I don't know if you can see that, but there's a pretty definite line where that overspray is. I'll just highlight it so you can see it. Like you can see all that right there. This is where the box was. This is the, what I'm calling dust, but it's technically overspray. It just turns into dust. And you can see how much there is there. So this house right here has a lot of really nice things. I mean, these paintings and all this nice furniture. And what we do is we even take like our scraps of plastic, and just to be safe from that area, we just throw these are just plastics that they weren't really used in a spray environment, but we kind of carried them around like we ripped, there was a little crown in here. We ripped that all out and put this big 6-inch stuff. So we put plastic like over the TV when we did that, and this is kind of that plastic. We dust it off and reuse it. So that's what it looks like. That's what they're gonna see. And it's just a booth to contain the overspray. All right, so that's gonna do it for this video. Hopefully you learned something about the overspray, how it can really mess up a project. And if you feel like I left something out, which I probably did because it's hard to think about every aspect that goes into this, just leave it in the comments below. People come to these videos all the time and learn in the comments, as do I. So if you feel like there's something that I need to go over maybe in a future video, just leave it below and I would really appreciate it. So again, hopefully you learned something, and we'll see y'all on the next video.